Your sewing machine doesn't hate you. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not cursed. I'm sorry to say it, but the problem's actually you. In this video, we're gonna talk about 3 things. 1, operator error. That's 95% of what happens when someone brings a machine to us. 2, myths about why your machine's not working. And 3, when it's actually time to see a technician. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the first issue, and that is operator error. 95% of the machines that come into our building for a repair are actually operator errors that are easy fixes that you can do from home. We're gonna talk about an acronym called TNT. TNT stands for thread, needles, and tension. We're gonna talk about the first one, thread. When someone comes in with their machine, lots of times, I'm talking about 80% of the time, they come in with an issue that they think is tension or timing. It's actually a thread issue. They've either threaded their machine wrong or are using a poor quality of thread. Now, I know lots of you are gonna say, well, I've been using this machine for 20 years, or I've been sewing for longer than you've been alive, and I get that. Lots of times you're sewing, it's late, you're getting frustrated with your project, and you go to rethread your machine because your thread broke, and it gets threaded improperly. Whenever you start to have an issue with the machine, this is the T, you're going to stop. You're going to cut your thread, take all of your thread out. You're going to rethread your machine, and then you're gonna do the exact same thing with the bobbin. Open up the bobbin area, pull out your bobbin case, take out your bobbin, double check, make sure it's wound properly, and put it back into your machine. 9 times out of 10, that's gonna solve your first problem. Now let's start with the N, which is needles. You should be changing your needles every 8 hours of sewing time. Some people change their needles every time it breaks. If you're doing that, stop now and start changing your needles every 8 hours of sewing time. Especially if you're using a long arm or an embroidery machine, you should be changing it very regularly, like with every single project. What you can't see with the naked eye is that your needle actually gets dull and kind of bowed and flat-headed at the tip of the needle as you are sewing. If you start hearing a sound in your machine, like it's got a little thudding or tapping sound as you're sewing, that is a dull needle and it needs to be changed immediately. The last T in our acronym here is tension. Now, there are so many times that people start with tension instead of starting with thread and needles, okay? It seems to be the go-to. Something's not right, boom, I'm gonna twist that thread dial. That is the last thing that you want to do. Check your thread path, make sure it's threaded properly, make sure your needle's good, you've changed your needle and you're using a high quality needle, and then you can check your tension. Now, you're going to make sure that your tension discs, which is the 2 pieces of metal that are closing around your thread, that your thread is in between those tension discs. You want to make sure it's in between it and that your tension discs are not stuck open, okay? Once you have done that, you are going to grab your thread and give it just a little pull through your machine to make sure you can see the thread gliding through your tension discs. If your tension is set properly and none of your tension discs are open, obviously there shouldn't be an issue with your tension. Those are your main 3. They're kind of the trinity of machine issues. There are a few other things that come across our desks here at Soya that we see that you can avoid too. The first one is regular maintenance. Now you can brush out and use a vacuum and suck out, or use a little blowing machine and blow out your machine, which is great, but once a year you should be taking it into your local dealer to have it serviced. There are things inside the machine that need to be lubed and need to be oiled that you can't do from home. So bring in your machine once a year to have it fully looked at by a technician. That's the first thing. The second thing is low quality products. If you have a beautiful machine and you're using $2 thread that you got on some random site, that's not the machine you should be running through your machine. Use high quality threads, high quality needles, and at the end of the day, high quality fabrics to produce the results that you want on your sewing machine. The third one is forcing or being rough on your machine, okay? Sewing machines aren't delicate. You can work on them, you can use them, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't ever be pulling or yanking on your fabrics or your threads as they're going in the machine, especially if they get stuck. We see that often where someone has actually bent their needle or bent something in their machine because it got stuck and they were forcing. Take your time, lift your presser foot, use scissors, snip things open, and get into your machine. Now let's talk about the myths that we hear as people bring in their machines or just talking to our customers. Now, most of these myths are things that are kind of passed down from generation or between certain geographic areas in the quilting industry. Now, why does this happen? I talked about this in a previous video. This happens because some dealers are trying to sell very specific products and they are trying to push that onto you as a, you know what, this machine doesn't use this certain thread because that's the thread their competitor carries. That is the biggest thing that we hear. Someone will come in and say, my machine doesn't like Aurifil, Isacord, Mettler, whatever it is, okay? When you're talking about high quality brands, No machine should have an issue using any of them. Let's say, for example, for embroidery thread, we sell Isocord, okay? Lots of dealers, what they do is they say, you know what, you just bought this machine and the thread you need to use for it is Isocord, and oh look, we have this entire wall over here full of threads. Their competitor might carry Floriani thread, and they say, you know what, Floriani doesn't work great in these machines. The fact of the matter is that that just isn't true. If you're using high quality products, they should work just fine in your machine. It goes the same for fabrics. If you have a fabric that you're using in your machine that's a high quality fabric, if you're having an issue with it, you're probably just not quite on the right setting or using the right foot. Take a second, use Google, use ChatGPT, or use your manual and see what type of foot and what type of setting you should be using for that particular fabric. The next thing we hear is that my tension is broken or my tension dial is broken. Mostly what happens is someone comes in and they bring their machine in, and when they go to thread it, like I said in the beginning of this video, they miss one of their tension dials. They miss it, all of a sudden their thread is just kind of hanging out loose over here and their machine has no tension. Go back to your basics, look at what you need to look at before you start saying something's wrong with my machine. The last myth that we hear fairly frequently is that you got a lemon machine. Now, I'm not saying it never happens, but the fact of the matter is that you have multi-million-dollar companies making these products. They want to make sure that their products are good, that they're going out the door, tested and ready, and they get to your local dealer in good shape. I hear people come in and say, you know what, I got this machine and it's a lemon. 99.9% of the time, they're not using the machine correctly. In all of the machines that we've sold in the last 10 years, we have had 2 machines come from the manufacturer that something wasn't right with the machine. It was very apparent, and it was apparent right from the get-go. It wasn't like the customer had the machine for 3, 4, 5 weeks or months, and all of a sudden the machine wasn't working. We turned the machine on, the screen that was on the front of it started to flicker. We said, wait a second, something's wrong with the machine. Boom, we sent it back to the manufacturer, and they replaced it. Lemon machines don't happen often. Most of the time, you just need a little bit more education, and you'll be off to the races. Okay guys, so now let's talk about when you actually need some professional help with your sewing machine. You've gone through all of the steps. Everything's threaded right, you're using high quality products, you've checked everything over, everything, from what you can tell, is in good shape. Once you're at that point and you are still having machine issues, that's when you need to go to your local dealer. Now, some telltale signs of that as well are when you actually hear something going wrong with your machine. Crunching, cracking, breaking, popping, those are things that should not be happening, obviously, and that's when you bring in your machine. Now, here are some possible things that can happen to your machine, okay? Your machine can go out of time, meaning that your needle's coming down, your hook is coming up, and those just are not in sync, things are off. That can happen when you hit a very large seam. It can kind of push your machine out of sync. You've hit a pin, you've hit a clip, you've hit something you shouldn't have. That's kind of when that happens, okay? Another thing that can happen is there are just things inside your machine that wear out. You have bearings, you have things that are packed with grease. Sometimes if those haven't been serviced regularly or they're just old, things wear out within the machine. Now, there's kind of a myth that sewing machine dealerships are gonna look inside your machine and say, this machine's broken, buy a new one. They wanna just get your machine fixed and get it back to you. So if you're in your local dealer and you feel like you trust them and they say, you know what, this machine's gonna cost more in repairs than what the machine is worth, sometimes it's just time to upgrade and get a different machine. All right, everyone, I hope this video has clarified why you might have had machine issues in the past and just debunked all of the myths that come about of why your machine's not working. In the comments of this video, please let me know a machine issue that you had and how you resolved it and that aha moment of, whoops, I might have threaded my machine wrong. Guys, my name is Brody, teaching you how to sew like a pro. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.